Joining me now, three of the country's very best political analysts and strategists from New York, Republican strategist and fundraiser Georgette Mossbacher, here in Miami with me, a columnist for the New York Daily News and editorial board member Errol Lewis. Good to have you with us here. And syndicated columnist Miguel Perez. Miguel, good to have you. Let's start with a president who is embattled, who is under siege and is increasingly isolated on both foreign policy and domestic policy, Errol. What in the world is this White House trying to do?
Well, I think they're sticking to their old script. And part of what he's been saying this week reminded me of 2004, saying if we don't stop the al-Qaeda terrorists and the insurgents in Iraq, they're going to follow us here. A naked, direct appeal to the public to try and protect the homeland. I mean, and it sounded like what he was saying in the closing hours of the 2004 campaign.
Georgette?
Well, I mean, this president's been very, very clear. It's one thing about him is he doesn't change. He doesn't go by the polls or how the wind's blowing. I think he is very serious about sticking it out until the very end.
Until, I guess the word that it was sort of that came to mind as you were expressing that thought was the bitter end. Mm-hmm. Miguel, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think that the one thing that saves the president is that the Democrats aren't offering anything better. All they're doing is they're threatening to cut back right. the funding and all of this other stuff. But what solutions are they proposing? Zero.
Is there a solution here? Because for years I have been extremely critical of the general staff, the Pentagon, for not insisting upon victory. These troops still do not have the resources, whether it's armored vehicles, whether it is body armor, for crying out loud, even helmets. We're having to import ammunition for crying out loud.
The solution, as far as I see it, was overwhelming force. Not 20,000 troops, but overwhelming force. And if we cannot do that, because maybe we don't have the manpower to do it, then, just pull out as soon as possible.
And it's shocking, Lou. I mean, by the government's own estimates, you need about a ratio of 1 to 50 soldiers or security forces to population, meaning there should be 120,000 peacekeepers in Baghdad, as opposed to the 15,000 we have now, or the 33,000 we're going to build up to. It's shocking, and the Democrats are not going to question this, because they got into office in November by not being specific, by not trying to take the reins from the president, but letting him.
Well, that may be good politics, but it doesn't seem to me, Georgette, to be very good governance, and that's the role they're in now as the leaders of both the House and the Senate.
But Lou, there's really nothing they can do. I mean, they can spend all the time they want in these resolutions, but at the end of the day, the president is the commander-in-chief. We may not agree with the direction he's taking, but I'm not sure that this time is. We've been debating this issue for how long? The fact of the matter is, it doesn't seem to be resonating with the president. He is the commander-in-chief and is steadfast on this course.
Let's turn to the issue right now of comprehensive immigration reform. This president is now being roundly criticized by members of his own party for the prosecution of these two Border Patrol agents who are now have been sentenced to a long time in prison by a prosecutor, a U.S. prosecutor, who's taken the word of a admitted illegal alien, drug smuggler with $1 million in drugs in his possession against that of two U.S. Border Patrol officers. The Democrats have said nothing. What is going on?
The Democrats have said nothing. The President of the United States has said, well, maybe they'll be eligible for a pardon, which would have sounded a lot more comforting had it been said months earlier, or if it was coming from somebody who had not, as governor of Texas, executed so many people and rarely, if ever, used the pardon power that he had back then. So we don't know what's going to happen to these men. I wouldn't feel at all comforted by the fact that the president has finally taken notice of it.
Georgette, members of your party, members of the president's party serving in the United States Congress, 55 of them, sending an entreaty to the president of the United States. He nor his staff had even the basic courtesy to respond to them, whether on the merits or whether simply as a matter of good manners. What in the world does he think he's doing by insulting the people's representatives and members of his own party?
Lou, this is mind-boggling. I have to tell you, I don't understand why he just doesn't pardon them and get this off of the news and get this out of the debate. This is, I can't explain this one. This one should have been a simple one that he can get rid of. This really does force one to step back and say, what is going on in that White House? Even I cannot defend this.
Miguel?
I cannot defend that either. I think that I never like it when prosecutors cut deals, but, you know, a lesser crook,
especially with drug dealers and illegal aliens.
Especially with drug dealers and against law enforcement officers.
Exactly.
But the situation is this: the president should step in right away
and these men
get it over with.
Are forgive me for introducing race into this. These men are Hispanic officers with great records, serving the nation. Where in the heck is LULAC? Where is MALDEF? Where is La Raza? Where are these people who call themselves Hispanic activists?
Miguel Perez is here.
Well, I appreciate that, but where are they?
Yeah,
that it is. I think it is shameful. What is happening on the part of this administration, the fact that the Democratic Party is not dealing with this, not a single Democratic member of Congress, the shame is horrible. We're going to do our very best to get to the bottom of it. We're going to continue in just a moment. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Stay with us.
The end of artificial color? Yes, with Natural Match, L'Oreal's most natural-looking color. It even complements my skin tone. It's the only permanent color system with aloe and green tea. It's a gentle experience, not a drop of ammonia. Natural Match Hair Color by L'Oreal Paris.
Man has always been fascinated with traveling back in time. Well, now Sprint has actually moved the unlimited calling time back 2 hours from 9 p.m. to 7. It's science fiction meets cold, hard economics. Stupid time machine.
Switch to Sprint and get unlimited calls starting at 7 p.m. Sprint. Power up. With Sprint, night calling now starts at 7 p.m. So you have the power to talk 2 extra hours at no extra charge. Talk all you want on a free camera phone by Sanyo. Or pick up the new Red Moto Razor, available on the Sprint Power Network, and a contribution will be made to help eliminate AIDS in Africa. Go to joinred.com for more information. The power to do the red thing. Sprint. Power up.
This is the story of a girl with a great imagination. Even when she sat still, her mind never did. Always wondering and pondering the faraway places. But while her mind always traveled, she rarely did, because no place was as wonderful as what she could imagine. Or so she thought. A new world is opening in Atlantis. Change worlds.
Want to save on your energy bill? Get the Energy Hogs out of your home. Find out how at energyhog.org and have fun while you're at it. Go to energyhog.org and get the Energy Hogs out of your home. Hey, wait for me!
Young Muslims living in democracies using free speech to spread hate.
One day, you will conquer the White House!
Christian Amanpour uncovers The War Within, CNN Special Investigations Unit, tonight, 8 Eastern.
Closed captioning hour is sponsored by Meineke Car Care Center.
Mom, Dad, should I marry Chloe, Liz, or Jill?
New oil change options from Meineke. Life doesn't always give you options. Meineke does.
While we're on the subject of immigration, the government taking a strange turn, Miguel Perez.
Yes, finally. I've been advocating this for years in my column. When political asylum seekers come to this country, they have to prove that they have a well-founded fear of persecution if they return to their homeland. One would think
that would make sense.
Many of them are going back 2 days after they get the green card. So obviously they did not have this fear. if they're turning around and going back to their homeland as tourists. So the government is now saying, look, if you go back, you revoke your right to stay here.
Right.
And you can stay wherever it is that you came from. And I think it's a great idea.
And other organizations, however, activist organizations saying, oh, that's terrible. It's a terrible idea. Maybe we'll start to see some parts of this government actually make some sense. Georgette Mosbecker, I want to turn to you. This week, Communist China shot down one of its own satellites in low Earth orbit, but demonstrating it has a killer capacity and demonstrating that that capacity would be most effective, obviously, if used against U.S. communication satellites, military satellites. Your reaction?
Well, I think it's the fact that we don't have any treaties with them, that we have basically ignored this subject. But what was more stunning is that we didn't know about it. And that very same day that they shot the missile at their satellite, our chiefs of intelligence agencies were giving their annual risk assessment to the Congress without a mention of what China was doing with this anti-satellite missile.
You think it's time for this Republican president to perhaps take seriously the idea that there is a significant economic and geopolitical and perhaps military challenge emanating from the People's Republic of China?
Well, the very fact that we don't have any treaties, the very fact that the chiefs of our intelligence agencies knew nothing about this really is in itself scary.
You know, Lou, every time I hear about the United States being the sole remaining superpower, I think about the fact that the Chinese are funding all of this debt, this big deficit we're running up. Walmart couldn't exist without all of the goods imported from there. So if we're the last superpower, then who are they? They're the last superpower's rich uncle, I guess.
Exactly.
You know? And now they're showing, I think, that the fallacy of this notion that you can trade your way out of this kind of global rivalry, that it doesn't go away, and maybe we're not the only superpower left.
I don't think there's any question that it's time to take them very seriously. As we've been reporting on this broadcast for some number of years, the idea of separating geopolitical interest and commercial and trade interest, as the U.S. government has now been doing for 2 decades, is absurd. And
this
hopefully
may be
we'll
the beginning of a space war race.
Well, let's hope it does not turn to that, but you're exactly right, and it's something that obviously this government and all of us have to be prepared for. Thank you very much. Errol Lewis, Miguel Perez, Georgette Mosbecker, thank you very much. Thanks for being with us tonight. For all of us here, we thank you for watching. Have a great week. Good night.